Hello everyone and welcome to Push the Lane. I am Nick Allen and I'm joined by James Railman, or as we call him in the office, Little Jimmy.
Little Jimmy, that's what my mother called me before she died. You insensitive jerk. Not true. I probably shouldn't have even said that. So first up, we're really excited this past weekend. If everyone had watched MLG, it was a fun tournament, lots of international competition. Yeah. But the big question was Shy versus Macnoon. People were, equating it to the competition of the two best top laners in the world. So, Nick, who would you say is the best top laner in the world?
Macnoon, of course. Macnoon. I mean, it seems like they've built their entire offense around a single player. And I mean, it's shown he sits in the middle of the players when they play in the lands, and so he's really making a lot of the calls and calling the shots. And if Macnoon does well in games, they win. They win everything. And so it's really about stopping him. And so when you center entire offense or defense around a single person, it really shows how good they actually are.
What actually happened though then if Shy was able to beat him so thoroughly in some of those games?
Well, Zubu Blaze is an awesome team full of strong players, while I think Najin Sword is really a lot about just Macnoon. So there's a lot of diversity and skill on a Zubu Blaze.
I think Song would disagree maybe, and a couple of the other guys. But I wanted to say Darien, and then I looked back and I watched M5 versus TPA, and I reminded myself of why the answer is only Stanley. There can be only one Nick. And game one, the answer would have been Darien. He looked really impressive. But game 2 and 3, Stanley came back and not only was able to win the lane, but he was using a build no one's ever seen before on Nidalee. And you think Nidalee already doesn't have a lot of damage. How is he running Chalice and Spirit Visage? And it worked. He was able to get a really aggressive split push. He was making plays. It was a really impressive showing. But all the time we see Stanley, and what we see is he moves a lot out of the top lane. He joins with his team. He saves the day. He's the hero in a lot of situations, and they group very well together. But you also have to consider top lane, it's not an island, which is how the NA teams have been playing, and why they've been messing up for a while now, is they've been playing the top lane as an island. It's about the team. So he leaves to help his team, and his team comes up and helps him. And he has Lil Balls, who's one of the most aggressive junglers in the game. He has Toys, who's one of the best mid laners in the game, and who also roams top a lot. Toys, we've seen him go level 3 top lane, just constantly putting on pressure. So that helps Stanley, that helps his lane. He's the best in the world.
I don't really think so. I mean, it's because he's so close to Toys. Toys just shows up and makes Stanley look good. But I mean, MLG Dallas.
Message us who you think is the best, though.
Okay.
MLG Dallas.
All right. MLG Dallas. Zubu Blaze took first. Najin Sword took second. CLG took third. All non-North American teams. North America didn't show up for this event. It's really sad. So how is North America looking versus the rest of the world? I think the key thing is practice partners. There are none. There are not a whole lot of teams in North America to help play against some of the top teams like TSM or CLG or Dignitas. Those are really only the teams that can practice against each other, and everyone else is being left in the dust. Europe has just so many top players, such a concentration of skill, in Korea too, Asia too. North America is really lacking in that department, and because of that, North America is being left behind in the skill category.
Yeah, I think that's a true statement. However, I don't think that it was that poor of a showing for the NA scene. And I don't want this to become in the future where it's like, well, the NA teams lost, but boy, did they ever look good. That's what I'm scared this is going to turn into. But I think that, still we saw some improvement. Dignitas versus Zubu Blaze was incredibly exciting. The series was a lot of fun to watch. CLG came forth, though, they did play the NA teams. They beat Curse, so. But the NA teams, I think they're improving. I think mechanically the NA teams are right with the rest of the world. The things that they need to work on and the things that just need to click as a team is that they need to, the rest of the world, they have better map control early in the game. They have great ward coverage. They're constantly moving around as a team and making plays, and the NA teams aren't. They're sitting back, playing passively, allowing the game to come to them, whereas the foreign teams, we always see they're the ones to strike first. That's what the NA needs to improve on.
I mean, honestly, I'm not going to say a North American team wins a tournament again until something drastic changes. Just to be honest.
All right, I'll buy that one for now. But tournament schedule, there was a concern over the weekend, and people have talked about it in the past, that tournaments, the schedules are just too strenuous. Teams don't have the times to adjust. It's putting a lot of pressure on the players. What were your kind of thoughts? We saw over the weekend there were some issues there. CLG EU not getting a lot of sleep and then DQ'd as a result.
Yeah, I think the nature of LAN tournaments is that it's going to be strenuous. So it's really up to the tournament organizers and the organizations running these tournaments to really make it a really appealing time for the players while they're there. They should be comfortable. They should be fed. They shouldn't feel rushed. They should feel like it's their own environment, and they're not getting a lot of that right now. They're being forced into these strict timelines, and they don't get to relax and have a good time, and that's what it's all about. So as long as LANs continue to rush these strict schedules, and I mean, people need to have schedules, that's part of broadcasting, but having a little bit more flexibility to accommodate for the players is important so that they enjoy themselves and so they go out there and tell people how great an event is.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I actually was kind of expecting you to just like give this wicked cackle and just be like, we're gonna, grind them to the bone at IPL 5.
Slave driving.
But that's the goal. We'll see. I mean, the players, the stamina that they show is incredible. They're ready to play these long tournaments, and they want the best opportunity to win. I think the best opportunity is for them to have as many matches as possible, so you have to have a strenuous schedule. It's just about being able to accommodate the players and give them time to rest in between matches. So, it's something that everyone's going to constantly work on. But otherwise, yeah, I generally agree with you there. So next up, Ranked 5s. Trying to get through this quickly. Ranked 5s, Riot's made a big announcement. Season 3, there's a qualifier to get into Season 3 Championship Series, but then there's a qualifier to get into that qualifier. That qualifier is the result of the rank. The top 32 teams from the NA and the top 16 from EU West and EU East Nordic will be competing in a tournament, which is going to be incredible. It's just awesome to open up the playing field. It's going to be exciting to see what people are playing. I think it's interesting, though, some of the issues that we've seen in the past, not enough teams playing, that's going to help deal with that. But EU East versus EU West, not to dig on EU East, everyone knows that all of the top competitive teams of the past, they moved over to the EU West. So you look at the EU West and you're like, oh, there's M5, there's CLG EU, there's Curse EU, there's Fnatic. You look at EU East and there's Nick Allen's team.
They're really good.
That was your joke.
That was good. I just didn't expect it. But yeah, I agree. EU East doesn't have nearly the competition that EU West does, so that's going to pose one problem. But I really like the strides that Riot is taking to improve the Ranked 5 system. Right now, it's kind of a joke. You ask pro players what they think about the Ranked 5 ladder, and they're like, well, I mean, it's useless, basically, because you're getting ranked against players that are significantly worse than you in skill, and the wait time, the queue time can be extremely long trying to get to the top of that ladder. So they're finally doing something about that. They're going to have this awesome tournament. Ranked 5 is going to mean something, and it's also going to be cool because of the spectator features. You're going to be able to watch these games and check them out. It should be really interesting.
All right, last up. Tournaments coming up this weekend. It's going to be exciting. We've talked about Tales of the Lane in the past. The top 4 teams, M5, Curse EU, Eclipsia, and SK. I have M5 number 1, SK number 2, or Eclipsia number 3. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, Moscow first for me, and then Eclipsia second.
Okay, then Lone Star Clash, that's going to be this weekend. CLG EU versus Fear is the one I'm excited for. I think that Fear could really give them a run for their money with the early game aggression, but I think Aframu is going to potentially struggle against Froggen in that, later in team fights, Froggen can maybe take him out of position. I think if Aframu plays Vayne, then he's going to be able to they're going to be able to potentially win that series. Otherwise, CLG EU, hands down, CLG EU, Fear, and then X Orbit as my number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I just said earlier, I can't bet on any more North American.
Oh, that's true.
CLG EU is going to have to win this thing. Fear second. I really hope Fear wins, though.
All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. That has been Push the Lane. Make sure to message us. Give us your thoughts on any of these topics. Tell us who you think is the best top laner. Tell us who you think is the best at any position, because we're going to be going over those in the future. That's what I'm excited about. But message us at Baroncast.
I'm at Nick Allen IGN. Hit us up, and we'll see you next week.